This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and today we're in Georgia. I am here with When Pets Fly. Since 2020, with a passion for pet transportation, she is helping educate anyone in the animal transportation process about the importance of safe products and services during animal transport. I'm joined here with the airline industry's first in-house vet, the pet travel expert, Dr. Bryant. Thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Gary. I really appreciate it.
I'm going to start off a little bit about yourself. You were formerly educated at Cornell University in DVM vet medicine, also an MPH degree from the University of Iowa. You have obtained multiple certifications related to live animal transportation. You now work for Delta Airlines. Share with me a little bit how this passion for pets and animals, how far back did this start for you?
Oh my goodness, Gary. My passion for animals, loving animals started since I would say 7 or 8 years old. I've always loved animals, always decided at that early age I wanted to become a veterinarian. So it's been lifelong passion, lifelong dream, and I'm thankful that I've had the opportunity to become a veterinarian. And I'm thankful for where I am right now as far as doing what I can to help pets with air transport in the position that I am. To be honest with you, I'm probably the only veterinarian doing what I'm doing. It might be worldwide. And in this role, I feel that my purpose is to share what I see to help pet owners better prepare their pets to air travel. So, but yeah, I love it. Honestly, I love the opportunity.
You have a very unique perspective out there. You can show with a lot of people what you've experienced. As a father of many children, I know firsthand the planning and care needed to fly safely with those that I love. For many, their flying companions really have four legs. According to the data out there, over 4 million pets are transported by air each year. That's probably a huge stat that many people don't even realize, would you say?
Definitely. And that number is going to be combining going in cabin and also going by cargo. Just be aware of that.
Interesting. You began your employment with Delta Airlines as the industry's first in-house veterinarian. Was it quite an undertaking to review and revise policies that related to the transportation of live animals?
Actually, you know what? It's very interesting, and I'm thankful for the opportunity. Back in 2018, the COO at the time of Delta decided that he wanted to have a veterinarian on staff in cargo. And it's funny, I was retiring from the United States Public Health Service, leading my role at CDC as a dog importation SME. So I was geared up as far as animal transportation, and the timing was perfect. I saw the position advertised on LinkedIn, and I went for it, and thank God I got it. And honestly, yes, it's a challenging position in a way because it's a position where, as veterinarians, we've never had that opportunity. And I do believe that we need to be in these positions. Now, not just any veterinarian, you have to have the background to suit the role too. But we need to be involved in roles like this because you have a sector that's transporting animals. It's a position where veterinary oversight is needed and you're trying to integrate within it and everything. So it's a challenge that way, but also it's an opportunity. And I'm really thankful for that.
Definitely a very unique role for you. Animals traveling in cabin, in cargo. It seems there are many steps from arriving at the airport to loading onto the plane that must be taken into consideration. Is that normally the case?
That is definitely the case. Throughout the whole process, you have to account for, there's a lot of regulations actually that has to be complied with. Animal welfare. There's animal welfare regulations under USDA. You've got to make sure those regulations are complied with for the animals during transport. And animal welfare, you say, okay, what does that mean? Well, there's temperature limits as far as transporting. There's requirements for the crates or shipping containers that they're in. There's requirements even on how they're handled, the amount of time they're on the tarmac. There's specific requirements that must be met. And again, having a veterinary oversight there to help with policies and procedures, even SOPs, develop them so that our workers, everyone follows. So it's really important.
Quite a bit of red tape, it sounds like, to get that pet across the world there. Your company educates pet parents, pet professionals, I mean, really anyone that works in the animal transportation process. What are some of the resources that you try to provide, and how do you deliver those?
Well, I have written plenty of articles. I actually one of the things I'm really proud of is I have a book chapter in a very well known veterinary reference book. It's called Ettinger's Textbook of Veterinary Internal Medicine. I have a chapter on international pet travel that my fellow veterinarians can now have a resource to go to as far as preparing for that because routine veterinarians, we get involved with pet travel for completing health certificates and what have you, and for domestic or international travel. And finagling and learning the international travel regulations, it varies by country, so it's actually kind of complicated. So having a resource in that textbook really is going to be a big help moving forward. But that I have Facebook Live events where I bring in other stakeholders in the animal transportation industry, and we just discuss topics. So I'm just trying to be a resource. And also, I'm sorry, my website. I have a website that shares pet travel education, and I define it as being more pet centric because I'm actually focusing on that pet during transport. Now, but trust me, there are other resources out there that will tell you how to prepare a pet for air travel, but it's more logistics. Like you need a document, you need a crate, get your ticket, and that's about it. But I'm actually focusing on the pet, making sure your pet is healthy enough for travel. That's extremely important. No one's really touching on that topic. Also making sure they're in a compliant crate that complies with airline standards, making sure they're acclimated to being confined in that crate. Because you can't buy a crate, the day before, put them in it and think they're going to be perfectly fine. A lot of pets will actually try to break out of those crates and injure themselves during the process. So I just share a lot of information like that.
All those things that many people don't think about. They're just thinking about the legalities and all this kind of thing. You're looking about the happiness and health of that pet as well. I mean, like in any industry, I mean, there are safe products and services supplied, and there are probably some that are not so great. Do you advise and educate consumers and maybe even warn them about maybe what not to use out there as well?
I definitely do that. I probably need to be more vocal with that, and I'm going to start doing things where I can actually show exactly. I mean, who knows? My thought is I need to get myself out there more and maybe do a TikTok or something to show a crate that's in your PetSmart or your Walmart or Petco that says it's airline compliant, but I can tell you why it's not, and really start showing these things. I think it's sad there's a lot of these products on the commercial market, and it's almost like let the buyer beware. So I want to find a way to educate people better. And then also I want to see if there's a way that we can get more of these compliant, truly airline compliant crates. And to be compliant with the airline, it's IATA, the International Air Transport Association. They set the standards. I would love to see if we can start getting more of those type of crates on the commercial market.
I mean, understanding what steps we can take for our pets to have a comfortable trip is really important. But like you said, there's also requirements that must be adhered to. I mean, having proper documents in place are all those things that you're able to teach people as well, maybe if they don't know the ins and outs of that.
Right, definitely. It's people have to realize when you're traveling with your pet domestically or internationally. I'll give you just one good example. Domestic, but you're going to Hawaii. A lot of folks don't realize the requirements going to Hawaii is totally different if I'm going from, say, Georgia to New York State. Hawaii is a rabies-free state, so there's specific requirements that have to be met. Your pet would have to be microchipped, rabies titer, and a rabies vaccination. And it actually, to get prepared to go there, it could take up to 6 months of getting everything prepared. So you can't just say, I'm going to go for the weekend, or I'm going to go for, to Hawaii with my pet, with your pet. It's not going to happen because when you get there, either they're going to deny your entry or, depending on your stay, your pet might be in quarantine that entire time. So really research what you're doing before you go. Much is, again, I have 2 dogs sitting behind me right now. I'm a dog lover. People have to realize they're animals, and there are regulations for their transport, domestic or international, and you have to comply with it. If you don't, they can deny you entry, and you're coming back, and you're going to pay for that. Okay. Do you remember a couple years back? There was a Johnny Depp story. I don't know if you remember that, but the issue was the fact that they brought in 2 dogs into Australia that didn't meet the requirements, And I believe they were threatening at that time to say they were going to euthanize the dogs, and it's a serious thing. There's diseases that our dogs may have in the U.S. that they don't have in Australia, so they have the right to protect their country, and that's just point blank. So you have to
That's
be
crazy. I mean, a
yeah.
story like that, we don't hear about those happening all the time to regular folks. Obviously, when it happens to the stars, we hear about it. But you're saying it happens every day, it can happen,
It can happen.
and not only internationally, but like you say, Hawaii. That's a great example. When I've flown all over the United States, but when I flew to Hawaii, I noticed the regulations were way different. I noticed they're caring about what comes in and out. So I think that's a great example. I mean, so many steps we can take even before flying. Like you say, what about getting your pet used to the carrier, used to the cage they're going to be in? Does that seem to help quite a bit, getting them used to that?
Extremely important. You think about it. You get it the day before and expect them to be fine. Some dogs or cats are fine. They will just sit still and just relax. There's others. You get a breed like the Australian Shepherds, these really high strung hyper dogs. They will do whatever they can to get out of it, and they will keep pushing and finding things and could break the door and get out. I hate to say this. Fairly recently, there was a dog that um chewed on the side of a crate trying to get out and injured himself. You have to make sure they are comfortable and acclimated to being confined in that crate. And honestly, it might take a couple weeks. It might take a month. It takes time. Probably, to be honest, would you be a good idea to keep the crate out at all times and make it like their den? So that's their safety zone, because that's basically what you're trying to emulate is that's their safety spot. They feel comfortable and safe there. So during transport, they're fine. I don't recommend sedation. A lot of folks think, oh, well, I'll just sedate them and they'll know, calm down. That's not the answer, because sedation itself it can, depending on the dog or cat, if they have underlying conditions, it can make the situation worse for them during transport. So you don't want to do it. And the ADMA also says you shouldn't do that as far as sedation during air transport either. So it's not recommended. They're at a point where they're could be sedated and there's no one nearby to assist them. Imagine if they're in cargo, and I always joke and say this, when they're in cargo, in the movies, you might go from, they'll show some of the movies, the flight attendant go from the cabin down into the cargo. Well, guess what? That's the movies. Normal situations, our flight attendants do not go through a trapdoor down into cargo to check on anything. These animals are left, unfortunately, during transport, they're unattended. And if during transport in the cargo hold, they have a medical crisis, there's no one to assist them. Please don't give them sedation, because it could really not a good idea during transport.
I can't imagine that journey they take. My son works for the airlines. He loads that luggage, and I can tell you it's a pretty crazy journey. I mean, although pet owners want their pets to travel with them, are some pets, like you say, not healthy enough to do so? And what kind of determines if maybe they should be left behind?
Well, I really think we should start, as far as veterinarians, we should start reviewing the medical history and the medical records of these pets during transport. Say if you've got an underlying medical condition such as a heart disease or a respiratory disease, if you got a dog that has a history of seizures, is on medication, diabetes, just if they have some underlying condition that really can be, stress is not good for them, might be in the best interest, if it's just a vacation, maybe it's better for them to stay home, let them stay home. And guess what? Got to be careful about these breeds. Have you noticed lately in the news, there's been a lot of brachycephalic breeds in the news, such as French bulldogs or pugs or those breeds? They have issues inherently because of their facial conformation. So difficulty breathing routinely. So imagine going in the air, being stressed, and the situations they go through and everything. So yeah, there was one. There's two stories fairly in the past couple months. One where unfortunately one dog died. It was a French bulldog. It died during transport, and this is in cabin. This is in cargo. This is in cabin. Died because, again, being stressed and difficulty breathing because of facial conformation, very likely. Then there was a second one probably maybe 2-3 weeks ago, where I believe it was on JetBlue. There was a French bulldog that was in respiratory distress, and they asked for assistance from the flight attendants, and they gave it oxygen, and it fared very well after that. So it goes to show you there's something impacting your respiratory system routinely with these dogs. So check with your veterinarian before transport. Make sure they're fit to fly and able to handle it, the stress of it. And it's the stress of the old event and everything. So I highly recommend.
See, this is an area where much advice is needed, much education for folks out there. I mean, you created Instagram and Facebook pages to educate pet owners and pet professionals. Is one-on-one consulting with you also available? Is that something you provide, and how do they get in touch with you?
Definitely. Go to my website. I do have that ability. If you want to have a consult with me, just sign up and we'll get a calendar together. And I'm willing to share information with you to get you on board. I'm also thinking long term. I think I want to start developing brochures, what have you, something that we can start really making it routine. I feel like in the U.S., I'll be honest, in other countries, I feel like they're a little bit further advanced as far as knowing animal transportation regulations or what's needed to prepare for travel. It's a little bit different here in the U.S., and I want to get us up to speed. I want us where it's second knowledge. If I'm going to travel with my pet, this is what I need to do. I need to make sure my veterinarian is on board. Is it okay for my pet to travel? And all that. So that's my goal, really.
As Americans, we're more of reactive people. Other countries are proactive.
Yes.
No, they're being prepared. They're not procrastinating these things and then waiting for something to happen. I mean, Nelva, along your journey, you have developed a collection of really unique skill sets. As an expert in the field of animal transportation, you now share your knowledge through newsletters, one-on-one, live and virtual vet conferences. Is this rewarding work for you?
It's very rewarding. Again, I feel like I have a purpose. My purpose is to do this. You can't be in a position like this and not find a way to share the information. I just feel it's my purpose to do this, and I'm really thankful for the opportunity to do it and everything. And my ultimate goal is to help pets get to their destination safely. That's the ultimate goal.
I mean, you really are in a unique position. That's why I wanted to get you on the show. I felt that your combination of, first of all, your love for pets is huge, but obviously being a vet on the airlines, really seeing this stuff firsthand. You probably scour the news out there and realize all these stories that are happening and what people just don't even realize that are happening. So I think that's great. Viewers, let's take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is our website. On the website, you can see her latest posts right there and her compiled network, really, of safe and pet-friendly organizations under the tab of her favorite things. You can also watch interviews with many of the companies that she recommends out there, and you can find out where she is speaking at, and also join her Facebook group. Sign up right there for her mailing list, all on the website as well. Once again, that is When Pets Fly. Travel preparations and travel requirements for healthier, happier, and safe pets. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and if you don't know, now you know.